Chapter 1, The Vampire Next Door. Haha. Awesome title. There was singing. I was lost in the dark, and all I was aware of was the sound as it led me on, flickering in my head like a faint light. Surely, I was dreaming again. But not a normal dream, because there was nothing but the dark, the biting cold, and tiny voices leading me forward. The whisper of footsteps through withered undergrowth cut through the song, and a part of my mind wondered why everything in this dream was so muffled and strange. I tried to roll over and bury myself in my blankets, but found I couldn't. And why is it so cold?
Nora.
My voice sounded thick, uneasy, and so far away.
Nora?
The darkness receded a bit, but it was so difficult to open my eyes. My body feels heavy. I thought the music, just died for a second there as soon as something touched her arm. I'm like, Something warm touched my arm. I jolted awake. The singing screeched to a halt like someone yanking the needle across an old vinyl record. I flinched away from the sound, even though it was only in my head. Sensation hit me again. I shivered violently in the night air. My brain slowly tried to catch up to what my eyes were seeing. I wonder who the voice was, because it seemed to wake her. Like she was on her way, and then she woke up. I wasn't in bed. I was standing at the edge of the woods, staring into the shadows beneath the trees. This again. As the wind gusted through the branches, I shivered, and not just because of the cold this time. I'd been sleepwalking again, and I had managed to get outside. Again. Why? Why was this suddenly happening? It was already the third time since we'd moved back that I'd done this. Okay, so this person is still here? If it's Elliot, I'm gonna flip out that he finds out this early.
Nora?
Ah! I whirled around, arms flailing out of the unexpected sound. My hand connected solidly with something, which I instantly realized was someone's face. Are you freaking kidding me? Dude, you are early. Holy mackerel, man. Not just someone, though. Elliot. I froze, my hand still planted awkwardly on his cheek. Stopped mid-slap. Oh, jeez! I ripped my hand away anxiously and pressed it to my mouth in horror.
Sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to startle you.
No, are you okay? I am so sorry. Even in the moonlight, I could see the splotchy handprint on his cheek. Ow! Oops.
I'm fine.
He moved closer, and I caught the glint of his pale eyes in the moonlight. The night cast eerie shadows across his pale face, and I suddenly found myself swallowing nervously as I remembered my goofy neighbor was, in fact, a vampire.
Are you okay? I saw you walking to the woods, but you didn't answer when I called out.
Did I have white hair? He set a cold hand on my shoulder and looked down at me, concerned.
You seemed a little distracted.
That voice in my sleep must have been Elliot. I'm okay, I think. Your face, though. I'm sorry
It's really fine. Something like this won't even leave a mark.
I'm really sorry. I just, didn't realize anyone was behind me. He released my shoulder and rubbed the back of his neck.
It's okay. Though, I have to say, you hit pretty hard for...
If you say, for a girl, I am going to hit you again.
I was going to say for someone so small.
not making it better. I punched him on the arm.
Ow!
He laughed and rubbed his shoulder. The smile quickly faded as he studied me again. His expression was uncharacteristically serious.
You shouldn't be outside alone at this time of night, though.
He's not going to ask why I'm out here in the first place? In my pajamas? Barefoot? I wouldn't have had a coherent answer anyway, but it was odd that he wasn't curious. Then again, he was outside too. Maybe this was typical cryptic behavior. I understand. I should just go back inside.
It's probably a good idea. It's not really safe out here this time of year.
Especially when you're running around in your pajamas.
Yeah, that's also a bit,
His eyes traveled over my mostly bare shoulders. My neck. I reached up self-consciously to adjust the thin straps of my pajama top. Why is he staring like that? His lips parted again, but he didn't say anything. I suddenly remembered every single vampire movie I'd ever seen. The ones where just the sight of a bare neck could send a vampire into a frenzy. Don't tell me he's...
Nora.
My heart lodged in my throat as he took a step toward me.
You're...
This is bad. Without thinking, I stepped back. He came even closer, his eyes dipping a little lower. Oh God. Should I scream?
You're... cold, right?
Huh? Cold? Cold? Oh. I get it. Good God. Wow. Okay, so it's gonna be one of those routes. Got it. I crossed my arms over my chest and narrowed my eyes, suddenly worried for an entirely different reason.
Here, let me...
He wasn't planning to bite me. Part of me wanted to hit him again just for scaring me. Or for staring. Maybe both. He started to pull off his hoodie. I was wondering if he was going to offer it to her. Because he seems very gentlemanly. I would figure he'd be like, "You're probably cold out here. Take my hoodie."
Hang on.
I watched him struggle to pull one of his arms through the sleeve. It looked like something had gotten caught in the fabric.
My bracelet.
It's okay. I can just...
No! I mean, just... hang on one sec.
I can't believe I was actually scared there for a second. This is just Elliot, after all. Nice shirt! Red World, it says in green letters and purple. It's a good look. I like it. It brings out your hair and your eyes. Did you, like, dye your hair and then found the shirt afterwards? Or did you find the shirt and was like, ah, this brings out the color of my eyes. I should also dye my hair to match the rest of the ensemble. You know, curious minds.
Uh-huh.
He finally pulled his arm free and wrapped the hoodie tightly around my shoulders, holding it closed at the neck.
That's better, right?
I appreciate the gesture, but you don't have to give me this.
No. I definitely think you need it. I mean, it's really cold, right? You were rubbing your arms and stuff.
Our eyes met, and he looked away quickly. I couldn't see it in the dark, but I was betting he was bright red. And stuff, huh? I held the hoodie tightly closed at the neck, making sure it covered the front well so Elliot wouldn't have to be embarrassed about stuff anymore. Thank you.
Hey, I'm really sorry if I interrupted whatever you were doing. I was just worried because you didn't have shoes, and it can be dangerous at night. So I followed you. Not that I was trying to stalk you or be creepy. I mean, I was just worried.
Don't worry about it. You didn't really interrupt anything. I glanced up toward the houses. I should probably be getting back inside, but I couldn't go back up the narrow path because Elliot was blocking the way. So I guess I'll just head back now.
Right. Sorry.
Elliot stepped to the side, rubbing the back of his neck. I moved past him carefully and started back up the slope to the backyard. He followed right behind me silently, making me feel both awkward and self-conscious. Fortunately, I had my frozen feet to distract me. My toes were stinging with each step. I was really lucky Elliot had stopped me before I'd gotten far. It was pretty amazing what the body could apparently ignore while asleep, like freezing pine needles and dead leaves jabbing into the fleshy parts of my feet. How I could possibly get so far without that waking me up was beyond me. My foot suddenly hit a patch of wet leaves. It slipped right out from under me, and down I went.
Watch out!
His arms were suddenly around my waist, keeping me from face-planting on the cold ground. That's the second time you saved me from falling. I stood there, breathing heavily for a minute as I tried to regain my footing. Jeez, this is not my night.
You okay?
Yeah, it's just a bit slippery. Too many wet leaves on the path. He helped me right myself before releasing me.
You okay now?
Yeah. Nice reflexes.
Well, I am a vampire after all.
Oh, hi, Danny. In the distance, a loud howl suddenly went up, startling us both. I very nearly jumped right back into his arms. Holy crap! Is that a wolf? It didn't sound remotely like a coyote.
Probably. Danny aside, there are several werewolf clans in the area.
Oh, we know. Saying of which, where is Danny? You two are usually together.
Full moon.
I glanced overhead where it was shining brightly. I hadn't even thought about that. Man, I was really standing outside in my pajamas talking to my vampire neighbor about my werewolf neighbor howling in the distance. This is my life now. What the actual heck?
Yeah. He tends to wander pretty far away from the neighborhood to avoid being seen. A huge wolf in these woods would definitely cause a stir. He wouldn't want to start any weird rumors for sure.
That's probably true. Also, I forgot that when I ended the last episode, there was the sound of writing. So, I guess we'll have two things to read. Elliot is a vampire I go to school with, and who also lives next door. He's an infected vampire rather than a natural one, meaning someone bit him at some point and spread the vampire virus thing to him. Is there a formal name for that? I have no idea. I'm really unclear how it works since it doesn't seem like everyone that's bitten gets automatically infected, but it seems like most supernatural viruses are hard to understand. Okay, so it's not 100% like lycanthropy, it seems. So, I've learned that apparently part of the reason Pine Hollow has so many weird urban legends is because they're, well, true. Sort of. I mean, if someone sees a mud-covered werewolf hulking around in the woods, they're not going to think it's a werewolf. They'll think it's a Sasquatch. Or a hellhound. Or something completely silly. But to be fair, a few weeks ago I thought werewolves were completely silly, so... there's that. Okay. We're caught up now. But it was freezing cold, and Danny was apparently wandering miles from home by himself. That was just... sad. Must be lonely.
Yeah, I think it is. I hang out with him sometimes, but he doesn't really like people seeing him like that. Even me.
I didn't know what to say to that, really. He walked me the rest of the way to the back gate. I was careful to not attempt to faceplant on the path again. I set my hand on the latch and turned to him, giving him a sheepish smile. I'm really sorry I hit you.
No, it's totally okay. Really.
I wanted to thank him for stopping me before I got into the woods, too. But if I did that, he'd know something wasn't right. Thank him! Good grief, woman. Thank this boy. He saved your butt. I decided to thank him anyway. If he hadn't stopped me, who knows where I'd have ended up. Thank you for... He covered up my lips with his fingers before I could finish. Yes?
It's fine. I'm not that cold anyway. Don't worry about it. You can give it back to me tomorrow.
Oh, no, I wasn't gonna thank you, yes, for the hoodie, but... Give it back? Oh! He thought I was about to thank him for the hoodie. Ugh. Fine then, I just leave it at that. If you want to be deliberately, you know, out of the know about what this girl's doing, that is on you. I tried to tell you. Okay. Well, thanks anyway.
I said it's fine.
Okay. So, good night?
Yeah, good night.
I let myself back in the gate and stole quietly across the backyard to the house. I looked back once and Elliot was still watching. It wasn't until I stepped through the door that he also headed back to his house. All these gentlemen neighbors. I stood quietly in the kitchen, my back to the door for a moment, trying to settle my thoughts. First, I needed to just clean up a bit. I made quick work of wiping down my feet with paper towels and cleaning up the small mess I'd left in front of the door. And finally, I dragged myself upstairs. Anxiety didn't set in until I was back in my room and had nothing else to occupy my thoughts. I lay in bed staring up at my ceiling. Why was I suddenly sleepwalking? More importantly, why was I leaving the house? I didn't need Elliot to tell me it was dangerous. It didn't matter what time of year it was, roaming around at night while asleep was going to be dangerous. What should I do about this? Should I tell Mom? But what if it isn't just normal sleepwalking? Mom wouldn't be able to help with it, and I'd just kick up a fuss about something she couldn't do anything about. I didn't want that. I mean, your mom would probably try to keep an ear out for you and try to wake you up at least. The family didn't need drama right after we had just moved back. I could only imagine how they'd assume it was some kind of past trauma or some nonsense like that. I could tell Allie, but then what if it was just normal sleepwalking? Allie wouldn't be able to help with an actual medical issue, and she had enough on her plate at the moment. I wasn't even sure what kind of paranormal phenomenon could make someone start sleepwalking. If only we had read a book about that, or talked to an actual vampire neighbor who said, yeah, I used to sleepwalk, and that's how we found out I had vampirism, is because I sleepwalked into my stepsister's room and tried to bite her neck. Unless it was some strange fae thing, which I really couldn't rule out, to be honest. I groaned and rubbed my eyes tiredly as I rolled over. A glance at my clock revealed that it was nearly 3 in the morning. I had to be up in a few hours for school. I couldn't solve this problem huddled under my blankets holding back a panic attack. I needed to try to get some sleep so I could think about it rationally later. I'd have to add it to my list of topics to research. More than that, I'd have to put it at the top. This one was important. I shut my eyes and immediately saw Elliot's face. I wonder what he was doing outside in the first place. Not hunting or whatever, I assumed. He'd told me before that it was illegal to bite people without permission. Unless he ate furry woodland creatures, which wasn't really something I wanted to think about. Elliot, with his face buried in some poor squirrel's neck. Blood dribbling down. Ugh. Gross. As I drifted off, I tried to imagine what it was like to be a vampire. Does he ever want to bite people? I wonder what that's like. I had to deal with sleepwalking. Danny dealt with wolf transformations. Elliot dealt with things like having to drink blood or having weird cravings. We really are just a bunch of weirdos, aren't we? It was the last thought I had before finally dropping off to sleep. Morning came way too soon. When my alarm went off, only the barest hints of light were spreading across the sky. I was not happy. But, driven by the threat of Mom sending Spencer to wake me up, I stumbled out of bed and went through the tedious routine of getting ready for school. As I got my crazy bed hair situated, I stared at my reflection in the mirror, wholly unimpressed with the circles under my eyes. Sleep deprivation definitely did not agree with me. After stopping back by my room to grab my jacket and shoes, I went downstairs for breakfast. Mom was nowhere to be seen, but a plate with egg toast was waiting for me on the island. I sighed as I poured myself a cup of coffee. These days, morning always brought with it a confusing combination of tedium and peculiarity. Everyday life was going on around me, but I had one foot there and one foot in Wonderland. Movies, with their carefully crafted drama, made it seem easy. And here I was just struggling to manage each day with the least amount of supernatural teen angst. I huffed in annoyance as I bit into my toast. I didn't even get to do the cool stuff. The rest of the club members were suddenly busy preparing for Samhain and running around town doing whatever that entailed. I was stuck researching fairies and trying to figure out what the heck I even was. I'd offered to help with their preparations, but Ellie kept saying I should just focus on learning for now. I could consider interning later. To be honest, I wasn't sure I wanted to intern or anything like that. I just didn't want to feel like I was desperately clutching to the fringes of some strange group without being fully a part of it. There we go. Or fully on the outside. Part of me felt left out, and part of me wanted to stop thinking and researching and trying to understand. I just wanted to be immersed to the point I didn't have time to stop and worry about the ins and outs of it all. The others had been doing it so long it just came naturally. Like Elliot last night. He didn't bat an eye at finding me out there or hearing a potential werewolf in the distance. I wanted that same level of confidence handling all this. As it was, I was just floundering around like a panicked idiot. I took a long sip of coffee, clutching the mug protectively. At least you're still a blissful constant, my friend. I heard the soft jingle of metal coming down the stairs and expected Spencer to appear, cranky and ready to curdle milk with the sheer force of his sour gaze. But it's the brownie. Instead, it was a familiar brown creature with spindly legs and inky eyes. I watched it prance through the kitchen, Spencer's car keys in tow, and disappear down the hall. Pinching the bridge of my nose, I set my coffee down and waited. 5, 4, 3, 2... The heavy thud of Spencer's feet sounded in the upstairs hall and were coming my way. He was getting a bit faster on the uptake, but apparently still hadn't caught the little brown thing, a household spirit, as Allie called it, in the act yet. That was probably for the best, but it meant I usually got the blame for the missing keys, no matter that he couldn't figure out how I managed to sneak into his room and take them without him seeing me. As for the little brown thing, well...
I'm sure you can see it because you're all so fey. A lot of the houses in our neighborhood seem to have them. They're probably some type of brownie or household spirit, which are basically creatures that get attached to specific houses or families. To be honest, I've caught a glimpse of ours a few times, but for the most part I can't really see them.
Even though you're a cryptic too or whatever?
Just having magic in my veins doesn't mean fairies can't hide themselves from me if they want. I may be a witch, but I'm still also technically human. And as I've mentioned, fairies are secretive creatures. They don't like being seen.
So it's a brownie?
Probably.
I mean, when I think of brownies, I think of delicious baked goods, not naked brown gnome things living in my house.
Look at it this way. They're basically like guardians of the household. They do menial tasks and protect the family if you're nice to them.
That was how it worked in theory, anyway. But if you made them mad, they would prank the hell out of you as punishment. And Spencer had definitely found a way to make ours mad. He reached the kitchen a few seconds later, a scowl already plastered on his face. The keys are missing again. I drained my cup and set it in the sink. So the top one's a lie. Actually, the top two are lies. Let's not lie to our brother. I don't know if that matters. I mean, we don't want him to kill us. But other than that, there was nothing I could say. If I told him I hadn't seen them, it would be a lie. I definitely had seen them. I'd seen them being carted off to the foyer by a little creepy brown house spirit. And that I definitely could not tell him. Nor could I tell him that it was probably pranking him because he kicked over its favorite mushrooms when we first moved in. Ah, she figured that out again. And if I said the keys were probably in the front cabinet again, he'd just assume I was the one that put them there. Yep. No comment. Nope. He stalked out of the kitchen toward the front of the house. He'd probably find them in a few minutes, so I made quick work of gathering my things and heading outside before I had to listen to him accuse me of being the culprit. I had no idea how he thought I was managing to sneak into his room every morning and get the keys without him seeing me, and I was too tired and annoyed to have that conversation with him again. I stepped outside, still yawning. As far as mornings went, it could be worse. Still, I could do without nightly excursions into the woods while unconscious. Or, rather than that, I needed to do without them. I made a mental note to write down what had happened as soon as I got the chance so I didn't forget the details. That weird darkness, the singing. It had felt like a dream, but now that I was able to think about it properly, I guess I'd been at least partially aware that I was walking around outside. I didn't want to forget that detail, because in addition to my research, I'd been keeping track of all the strange things that had started happening to me since last week. Or anything I could remember from my childhood as well, though I wasn't sure how reliable my memory was in that regard. How interesting. So she's starting that really early this time too. Part of me just wanted to record it all, but I was also using it all to guide my research, since my first few attempts to look up things like getting lost in the woods or getting amnesia hadn't really turned much up. I figured the more things I had to cross-reference, the more likely I'd find something relevant. Anytime I came across something that seemed to apply to my situation and also had something to do with fairies, I marked it down so I could remember anything that seemed important. I'd only flagged a few things so far, though. Far too few for the amount of unanswered questions I had. Fae were distressingly diverse, and they definitely weren't about fairy dust and granting wishes either. Shoulders drooping slightly, I went to take my usual spot by our front fence to wait for Allie. I leaned against it and let out a long, frustrated sigh. There was the sound of rustling plastic and something heavy falling on the other side of the fence. Curious, I peeked around the corner, surprised when I came nearly face to face with Elliot. His face lit up.
Oh, hi.
Despite the smile, he looked nearly as tired as I did. Hey, I don't normally see you out at this time.
Tossing something in the bins for my mom. Oh.
He yawned, revealing a quick flash of his fangs before he covered his mouth. Funny. They were so obvious once you knew he was a vampire, but they were kind of shorter than what you'd expect, so most people didn't seem to notice them at all. Oh, shoot! His hoodie!
What's wrong?
I just realized that I totally forgot your hoodie upstairs. I should go get it.
It's okay. I mean, I have other ones.
As evidenced by the fact you're wearing one right now.
You can give it to me some other time.
And indeed, he was wearing another plain black hoodie. Made me wonder how many of those he had. One for every day of the week.
So, did you sleep okay the rest of the night?
Not really.
I kinda guessed.
I look tired, right?
Just a little.
Yeah, trying to get through school today is going to be so much fun.
I know the feeling.
Aren't you supposed to not even need that much sleep? Creature of the night and all that?
Well, it's not night at the moment.
Touché.
I'm usually wide awake until about half an hour before Mom gets me up.
Is that why you were outside last night?
Oh, that. I was just taking a walk, really.
After lecturing me about how dangerous it was to be outside alone, he is a vampire.
Anyway, I was thinking about last night and... Ugh!
He staggered forward, nearly face-planting into me. I swiftly dodged, chuckling as a svelte black cat stalked after him, aggressively rubbing itself between his ankles. Is that your cat?
Well, kind of, I guess. Brent, knock it off!
I laughed as I watched him struggle with the cat, who was very determinedly trying to knock him over. So her name is... Bren? Like Brenna? I crouched down and held my hand out, but the cat just bowed up and hissed, hopping away from me. Guess she doesn't like me.
She just doesn't like strangers. Anyway, we took her in one day. I kind of feel like we never really own cats as much as they own us.
That probably goes for most pets. Elliot finally picked her up, setting her on the trash bins. She continued to glare at me with those wide yellow eyes before casually licking her paw. Elliot stroked her head gently.
So, do you like cats?
I do, but Dad's allergic, so we can't have one. But if she's an outside cat, she must be pretty clever to survive out here with all the other wildlife.
Yeah, I think they've learned not to mess with her.
As the cat and I continued our staring contest, I heard a soft scuffling sound down by our feet. Startled and worried it might be a rat or mouse, I looked down and quickly moved to the side as I tried to seek out what was making the noise. Oh, hi, Brownie. It was my little household spirit friend. Please tell me it's not bringing the keys out here.
What's wrong?
He was leaning over to try to see what I was looking at. Hang on. I crouched down again, trying to get a better look at what it was doing as it attempted to squeeze under the wooden slats of the fence. There was no way I'd be able to explain away the keys being out here with me. The little brown thing was lurking down near the bottom of the fence. It had something in its hands, but I couldn't tell what. I didn't think it was the keychain, though.
What is it?
It's just something that lives in my house and has taken to bullying my brother. Elliot's cat suddenly hissed and jumped off the bins, eyes glued to the little spirit. She crouched low in the grass, bunching her legs under her. Don't pounce, my little spirit friend! Uh-oh. Crap. Possibilities. I don't want to let the brownie fend for itself, because he'll think I betrayed it. And then I'm gonna be in trouble. If I pick up the cat, she might claw my face to smithereens. If I warn the brownie to run, I'm probably gonna freak out Elliot and potentially Spencer if he's lurking around behind fence posts or something. What's the lesser of the evils? I'm definitely not doing the middle. It's either the bottom or the top. Do I risk Spencer overhearing? Because I don't know if it is Brenna. I've been joking that it's Brenna, because Brenna seems to like Elliot and she can turn into a cat, but it might just be a coincidence. And if it is Brenna, maybe she would be somewhat touched. She's gonna be upset no matter what. But maybe she would be somewhat touched that I wanted to save the brownie. Elliot saved me from the cat's claws. Well, we didn't need the thing to be even angrier, and while it might be helpful if Elliot's cat just ate it, I really couldn't bear to watch that. I reached down and scooped her up before she could pounce. And she immediately hissed and swatted at me like I thought she would. I sucked in my breath and quickly set her on the bins as her claws raked across my hand, leaving 3 bright red welts. Oh hey, actually, get that bloodlust going. That's a bonus. Blood slowly beaded up along the scratches. The brownie took off like a shot, and Elliot's cat darted after it, but I was preoccupied nursing my injury. Run, little brownie!
Are you okay?
Yeah, just... ow. She got me pretty good.
I am so sorry.
Not your fault. I shouldn't have picked her up. I just didn't want our little brownie thing to get eaten. So now I'm explaining. Elliot stood by, watching me worriedly as I fished around in my backpack for something to stop the bleeding. I hissed quietly under my breath. That hurt like hell. Cats were so evil sometimes.
Does it hurt a lot?
Well, it doesn't not hurt.
Here, let me help.
If you're gonna, like, lick it and then tell me, like, vampire saliva can help heal wounds, I'm out. I swear. I looked up at him questioningly. He took my hand gently and pulled me a bit closer. My face went red. Elliot? I got it, I think.
No, I mean, I can... well, don't think I'm weird. But I can numb it.
How? Oh my god! Yes! The cut finger lick the blood off kink. Oh man, it's been a hot minute since I've had one of those. Well, here we go.
My saliva?
He pointed to his tongue.
It's a vampire thing. We can inject a numbing agent when we bite people.
You wanna bite me? He blinked in surprise at the sudden change in tone. Color crept into his cheeks. It wasn't really the reaction I expected in response to that accusation.
No, I don't. I mean, I don't have to bite you to do it. Just licking it would probably work.
He'd mumbled that a bit sheepishly, but I definitely caught what he said. Oh, okay. He just wanted to lick me, because that was totally less weird.
You can say no. It's okay to say no. I won't be offended. I just feel bad since my cat did it. It's not like I want to lick you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't not want to. I just... ugh.
He turned away and gently smacked his forehead against the wooden fence. Mm-hmm.
Oh god, please just kill me now.
I tried to resist having a giggle at his expense. Yeah, sure. In the end, one of the scratches looked pretty deep, and it did hurt a lot. And Elliot seemed pretty earnest. But it was definitely weird to have Elliot lick my hand. It was weird to have anyone lick my hand. It was weird to have someone offer to lick my hand. Vampires. I know freaking vampires. I can't handle this. I don't mind giving it a shot? What am I saying?
Really?
Why do you look so happy? a vampire. He wants to lick you. Don't make it weird, Nora. Sheesh. He took my hand gently and lifted it toward his face.
Are you sure?
No. Yes? Oh, dang, that's a hot one. Whew. Man, you are early with the CGs too, my boy. I'm fine with all of this. Please continue. Elliot lowered his head, and I squeezed my eyes shut as something warm and wet touched my skin, like a tongue. It hurt a bit at first, but the pain quickly receded to be replaced by a pleasant, tickling sensation across my knuckles. I peeked down at him, watching the top of his head move slightly as he gently looked at the scratches. I swear if Spencer is watching this, I'm gonna die. Or Allie. Oh no. My face started to grow warm, and I found it weirdly difficult to breathe as that warmth crept down my neck. That was... words somehow escaped me. I could feel the heat from his breath all the way in the pit of my stomach. I struggled to speak, but my mouth didn't want to form words, and my throat felt weirdly tight. Elliot? I think it's better now. My voice sounded weird. Elliot looked up at me curiously. His eyes seemed foggy somehow, almost like he wasn't really seeing me. Elliot? Suddenly, his eyes went wide and he pulled away very quickly.
Oh, sorry. Is it okay now?
Yeah. It looks like the bleeding stopped. His cheeks were slightly flushed as he touched the thumb to his lips thoughtfully.
A bit like O+.
He's talking about your blood type and you're like, I'm gonna make a note of that. Just real quick. So, apparently it's illegal for vampires to bite someone without consent. There are even contracts involved. And there are special considerations if the biter and bitee are underage. Which makes sense. I can't imagine how many teenagers are probably willing to throw themselves at someone's fangs. For the record, apparently if you're already licking is allowed. Go figure. If you're leaking. Oh my god, this root's gonna end me, I swear. My blood type is O+.
Hey, not to change the subject, but I was thinking about last night. Maybe I'm way off, but were you actually sleepwalking by any chance?
I froze? Shoot, he'd worked that out then. Darn it, I played it off so well. He hadn't really seemed too worried about it last night, so I figured he'd just dismissed it. But it looked like he had given it more thought than I'd expected.
I mean, I just thought it because it was so cold and you were out in your pajamas, and you didn't have shoes. And I couldn't get your attention. The truth is, you walked right past me and didn't seem to notice me. Then you were surprised I was behind you, even though I'd called you several times and you'd looked at me.
You didn't mention that last night.
Well, it was kind of awkward. You already seemed a little freaked out. I guess I shouldn't have woken you. You're not supposed to wake sleepwalkers, right? But then again, it would have been dangerous to let you go into the woods alone.
I didn't even have a defense. He'd already worked it out. I wondered what he'd been doing out there anyway. Yeah. In any case, I much preferred being woken up to being let roam around in the woods at night. Good.
Does this happen a lot?
Well, not a lot, really. It's happened lately. A few times. It was the third time since we came back.
3 times in, what, a week and a half? That's pretty frequently.
Elliot, look. Can I ask a really big favor?
Sure, what is it?
Can you keep this quiet for me? I don't want to worry anyone else. I don't really even know what's going on yet, so...
Allie doesn't know about it.
Well, I didn't see a reason to tell her. I was kind of hoping it was just stress or something.
I don't mind keeping it quiet, but... Do you... I mean... want me to kind of keep an eye out for you? Since I don't really sleep much anyway, I can keep watch in case you wander out. Maybe wake you up before you get too far.
Oh, my goodness. That would be super helpful. You're getting permission before you spy? Rude. Yeah, I don't think I have to be, like, the tough girl with Elliot. Like, he wants to help. Let's let him help. That was kind of a weird offer, to be honest, but helpful. Yeah, that would actually be great. And I don't mind if you wake me up. It's preferable, honestly. He gave me a bright smile, seeming really pleased to be of use.
Alright, I'll keep it in mind.
Sorry. I feel bad asking you to do something like that, though. I mean, he offered.
It's really not a problem. I don't mind. I mean, I don't want you to go off into the woods and get hurt.
Our conversation was cut off by the sound of a car door slamming shut. The engine roared to life, and moments later, Spencer was pulling out of the driveway. How much did he see and hear? He shot me a pretty intense glare before speeding away down the road. I know you let our next-door neighbor lick your hand. I saw it all. Shoot. I hope he didn't hear what we were saying.
He looked kind of mad.
He always looks like that. As he sped away, another car pulled up in front of the house. It was Allie. She waved at me through the window. I guess it's time for me to go. Remember about the sleepwalking thing? I put my finger to my lips to remind him I wanted him to keep it quiet and smiled hopefully. He returned the smile with a goofy grin.
No problem. Won't say a word.
Thanks. I really owe you one. See you at school! I waved again as I climbed in Allie's car. As we drove off, Elliot's cat rematerialized at the top of the fence and pounced his head. I laughed quietly as he flailed his arms and nearly fell.
What were you and Elliot talking about? He looked really happy about something.
Nothing in particular. His cat, my idiot brother, lots of random things.
I see. You two look like you get along pretty well.
If you had come here 5 minutes earlier, the things you would have seen. Elliot seems impossible to not get along with, doesn't he?
That's probably true. He's just kind of sweet.
I was thinking friendly, but okay.
You're no fun at all.